moved here in 2008, principally to be beside my daughter who lives here. Everything was fine until we had the snow, the very bad winters. The summer after, in 2011, I had the house painted, and then the cracks really started to appear. I'm an OAP living on a state pension. It's an amazing view, and as my daughter, when I'd sit out in the patio here with a glass of wine, she'd say to me, "Mum, this is your piece of heaven." And now it's turned into my piece of hell, quite literally.
Well, what's the crack? This is the biggest scandal to hit Ireland since the famine. This is the MICA scandal. It's a tale of broken homes, low-level corruption, political cover-ups, and levels of negligence, disrespect, and downright ignorance that I haven't seen since this man was working here. I have to admit that I'd never even heard of the MICA scandal until I walked across this protest in June of this summer. I asked the man, what was all this about? He said to me, "MICA is a national disgrace. Donegal is the forgotten county and no one in Dublin cares." So I want to help shine a light on this story because the extent of the damage is still largely unknown. If you live, go to work or go to school in a structure built in Ireland in the last 30 years, then you should be paying attention. MICA has already ripped Donegal and Mayo apart, but it's only a matter of time before the cracks start to appear across the entire country. MICA is a toxic mineral that rots building blocks from the inside. If there is over 1% trace of MICA found in a building block, then that building block is not fit to be used in construction. This is a fundamental standard within the building industry because MICA absorbs water into concrete blocks. So when the weather gets really cold, the water freezes and it expands, upsetting the structure of the block.
Hi there and a very good evening. Well, our severe weather alert remains in effect up to and including Christmas Day now, I'm afraid, with really bitterly cold conditions, freezing fog and...
I think we can all remember the unforgiving winter of 2010. How could we forget? But as a nation laughed at this iconic moment, the minerals making up the building blocks of thousands upon thousands of homes across Donegal and other parts of Ireland began to rot. By the following summer of 2011, once everything had fully thawed out, the cracks began to appear, and the locals began to realise that they had a systemic problem on the loose.
Well, that there looks a good block, alright. You'd think to look at it as a good block, but you look. It's not that good.
What's the difference between that block and the blocks in your house?
There is no difference. That is the same batch of blocks.
So basically what MICA does is it gives building blocks the structural integrity of a stack of cream crackers. So the question is, how in the name of God did MICA get into these blocks in the first place? This is where things start to get juicy. Most of the contaminated blocks can all be traced back to Cassidy Brothers quarries. They operate 3 quarries in Donegal and supply some of the major players in the construction industry across Ireland and the UK. There are now legitimate question marks arising over any materials used from Cassidy's quarries since the late 1980s. According to their website, they have supplied materials to high-profile projects in Dublin and London, including work on DCU, North Wall Quay, London's Imperial College, Canary Wharf, and the Olympic Village. Oh my God. The real problem here is that the concrete industry is self-regulating. Whenever you see the CE logo, buyer beware. This means that it is the duty and requirement of each quarry to ensure that the blocks that they produce are fit for purpose over a long period of time. There are various chemical and strength tests that are to be conducted on each block. These tests are fundamental aspects to anyone operating within the concrete business. These tests and standards are discussed extensively by the Irish Concrete Federation, which release an annual report every year. And in this report, we can clearly see that they have established a technical committee to review and develop high quality standards to ensure the production of reliable, customer-facing products. And as fate would have it, David Cassidy of Cassidy Brothers Quarries is a member of this technical committee. The standards and laws around the levels of MICA contained in blocks is clear. No more than 1% is allowed, because for every 1% of MICA in a block, the block loses 5% of strength. It's been widely reported that the Cassidy Quarry blocks contained up to 30% of MICA. This was not some oversight. This was gross negligence, and if a collapsing roof or falling wall hits someone, it will be manslaughter. Now listen, I want to make it clear that I wouldn't be having a go at the Cassidy brothers if they came out and did the right thing by either admitting guilt or showing everyone that this was an unavoidable and tragic mistake. If the Cassidys came out and said something like this, while showing genuine remorse and willingness to make things right, then people would in time learn to forgive. But the Cassidy brothers don't seem to be that type of people. Instead, their approach to date has been to deny and deflect. They have now even resorted to playing the victim card, saying that all the negative social media attention could damage the future of their business. I don't know what PR agency is advising Cassidys here, but lines like that will do them no favours whatsoever. Cassidy's main defence seems to be that they are not the only ones. Cassidy's could be the first of many scandals to hit this industry. How can we trust the legitimacy of the members of the Irish Concrete Federation? Whatever building you are in right now, it might be a good idea to take a walk outside and look for cracks. Because my own personal view is that this could be a national calamity. Every time there is a freezing cold winter, Irish people should now worry whether the four walls that they call home and their largest financial asset will begin to crumble.
Aidan O'Connell advises people affected by another known problem mineral, pyrite.
Most of the products that are still coming out of quarries or out of manufacturing plants, like concrete manufacturing plants, is down to self-regulation and down to self-declaration. I have no doubt that we're going to get bitten in the tail again over the next number of years by some other pyrite or mica or other unknown problem.
So what on earth are the government doing about all this?
This is moving beyond the East Coast. There are reports of cases in Mayo and as far away as County Clare as well. The local authorities, I have to say, have been very slow to deal with private houses in this area. This is not going to be just a housing issue. There are schools that are potentially affected. There are some of our major infrastructure potentially affected as well. We've missed 4 deadlines at this stage.
Back in 2012, when he was a senator, Darragh O'Brien was raising the alarm to this entire catastrophe, but nothing happened. And now Darragh O'Brien is the Minister for Housing, overseeing the government's pathetic attempts to compensate for all this. If the powers that be had listened to him back in 2012, then this problem would have been halved. But at every level of government, nothing has been done. The problem has either been ignored and in some cases even denied. This is the Oral Leisure Centre in Letterkenny, and it is clearly falling apart because of MICA, and it is owned by Donegal County Council. But they refuse to even acknowledge that these cracks are a direct result of MICA. Why? The reason for this is because Donegal County Council is in business with the Cassidy brothers. You see, Cassidy brothers are still, to this day, fully operational, and one of their biggest clients are the local county councils.
Some morals about this country, boys. You have to toss your fucking house because of Cassidys. Hey, your next door neighbour, he just pulls Cassidys up alongside us off. Greatest crowd ever.
Not only are they still operational, but the council have just recently given the Cassidy brothers a new 25-year license to extend their existing contaminated quarry. It beggars belief that the government are allowing a negligent, toxic and socially disruptive company to continue at will. There have been numerous complaints made to the Environmental Protection Agency about Cassidy's pollution and ill compliance with regulations and planning requirements. But again, nothing has been done. For over 10 years, the people of Donegal have been left to fight this battle for themselves.
My mommy and daddy took 4 years to build our house. Such a long time, but daddy said he wanted it done right. They got married in 2005 and moved in. All loved them. Then we came along to keep them busy. Daddy noticed cracks in our house in 2006 and he hadn't a clue what was going on. They had lots of tests done which cost a fortune. And in 2009 they found out that the house had MICA. I was only 1 then. Sure, I hadn't a clue what MICA was. But now I'm 13 and I know exactly what MICA is, and you know what? I wish I never heard of it.
Researching for this video has honestly brought me to tears at times, hearing some of the personal stories of families being ripped apart. Just for one moment, imagine that your own house had MICA and was slowly crumbling away. And then imagine that all your family, friends, neighbours and the houses of an entire community began to fall apart. Imagine driving around and all you see every day is buildings rotting to their core. Every day you spot newer and bigger cracks. When you go to the pub, what do people talk about? Every conversation, every thought and action is overwhelmingly dominated by MICA. Well, this hell is everyday life for the people of Donegal, and the sheer mental anguish that they are going through isn't even considered by our elected elite. I am genuinely in awe of the resolve they have shown to date and the fight that they are waging. As I've already mentioned, last June they organised an extremely peaceful and orderly protest. The purpose of the protest was to deliver a letter to the government, so they contacted the heads of the coalition government to ask them would they be able to receive this letter in person. But they were told to drop the letter off in a letterbox outside the door. Again, I don't know who the PR firm are advising the government, but all I know is if the people from the hills of Donegal are making the long journey in their thousands to Dublin to protest about the houses in Donegal falling down and crumbling around them, then as Taoiseach, as Taoiseach, as any sort of leader, you come out and you face those people and show respect. That's what real leadership is. But they were too scared to leave their offices and go down to the street and look these people in the eye and accept their letter. I genuinely wonder what would have happened if all these MICA infected houses were owned by cuckoo funds. I'll leave your imaginations run wild with that one. I'm going to leave it there for now, but I plan to continue talking about the MICA scandal in my next videos. So please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel.